In September of 1944, the Allied leaders plotted an ambitious plan to free Nazi-occupied nations and open a way into the German capital, Berlin. It wasn't so much a long shot as an all-or-nothing bet. If Operation Market Garden worked, it would accelerate the end of World War II. Otherwise, it would give the Germans the time they badly needed to recover from their recent defeats. The 1st Airborne Division landed on Dutch territory on September 17th to secure the Arnhem Bridge, but faced unexpected enemy resistance that led the courageous soldiers of the 2nd Battalion to hold the bridge for 4 days on their own. Their last radio broadcast was only heard by their enemies, quote, "Out of ammunition. God save the King." Operation Market Garden. After the success of the Battle of Normandy in the summer of 1944, the Allies were eager to end the war by Christmas. They had swept through France and Belgium, and with the Russians handling the Eastern Front, it was pivotal to find the shortest route to Berlin from the west. Field Marshal Sir Bernard Monty Montgomery, the famous senior British Army officer, had an ambitious plan in mind. But General Dwight Eisenhower authorized a smaller-scale version of this operation when his forces came to a halt after a swift advance. Montgomery's strategy was laid out hastily with a clear objective in mind: break through the German defenses in the occupied Netherlands with a single, narrow thrust north. The entire operation would also test the efficiency of the Allied Airborne Army, which had been created recently. Advancing over the lower Rhine River branches, the British Second Army would be able to bypass the Siegfried Line stronghold along the broad Dutch-Belgian border. The Field Marshal's plan was simple and consisted of a twofold scheme. First, Operation Market, the airborne component, which involved dropping over 35,000 paratroopers behind enemy lines in several strategic points between the Dutch towns of Eindhoven and Arnhem, farthest to the north. As the area mainly consisted of rivers, the canals of the Low Countries had to be secured, and the bridge was taken to facilitate ground advances. American airborne divisions were to capture Eindhoven in the south and Nijmegen in the middle. The ultimate objective was for the Red Devils of the British 1st Airborne Division to secure the Arnhem Bridge. It was of the utmost importance that each division successfully held its deposed positions long enough for the second phase to go ahead smoothly. During Operation Garden, a heavy deployment of joint forces of about 50,000 troops, the 30th Corps, would then proceed from the southwest in a flanking maneuver and join the 1st Airborne Division at Arnhem. The armored column was expected to cover the 63-mile distance in 2 to 3 days. After taking Arnhem, the industrial heart of the Reich would shortly follow. The battle. On September 17, 1944, 1,500 aircraft and over 400 gliders dropped the first wave of paratroopers nearly 60 miles from friendly territory, well behind German lines. The Allied leaders had overestimated the anti-aircraft forces in the towns, and they picked landing zones 12 miles away from the objectives. The troops had to cover the distance on foot and lost the surprise element entirely. Led by Major General Roy Urquhart, the 1st Airborne Division faced the operation's most challenging assignment, seizing the Arnhem Bridge. The soldiers would then be required to hold the bridge for 3 days, as there weren't enough aircraft to carry all the necessary men for the attack, and the rest of the airdrops would take place over the following days. Only half of the 1st Division landed on the first day. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Battalions were chosen to move towards the bridge, and the rest of the division would secure the drop zones around the area. The British troops were enthusiastically received by the Dutch citizens, which in turn slowed them down. Soon, the 1st and 3rd Battalions would become engaged with enemy resistance, and the 2nd Battalion, led by Lieutenant Colonel John Frost, headed towards the bridge on their own. Their plans to take Arnhem from the south crumbled as German engineers collapsed their secondary objective, a railroad bridge to the south of the neighboring town of Oosterbeek. The battalion then made it to the north of Arnhem, avoiding confrontation with the Germans already positioned on the bridge to halt the expected Allied landings. The troops sneaked between buildings and avoided snipers, securing the surrounding northern end of the bridge. Meanwhile, the C Company from the 3rd Battalion, led by Major Pete Pongo Lewis, also attempted to reach the bridge. By 10:30 p.m., the company marched through the town's main square, hiding in the darkness and hoping to be mistaken for Germans as they advanced as one body. When they ran into enemy forces, the leading platoon was ordered not to attack and instead move quickly towards the bridge. The company secured a school building at a vital crossroad to the northwest of the bridge. Later that evening, members of the 1st Parachute Squadron of the Royal Engineers reached the company's position and helped fortify their stand. A handful of the engineers armed with flamethrowers set an ammunition depot on fire. The explosion ignited the bridge, which burned through the night and illuminated the sector. Frost stated, quote, "The heat made the bridge impassable for that night." Satisfied with the foothold they had gained, Frost ordered his men to dig in. The strategy had not gone according to plan. Still, that night, nearly 800 men from the 2nd Battalion and other units were now positioned on the north end of the bridge, and 60 men from C Company and the Royal Engineers were barricaded inside the Van Limburg-Sturm school. All there was left to do was wait for the 30th Corps. Holding the front. 2 SS Panzer divisions reacted quickly during the night, and by dawn they had surrounded the British troops around the bridge. Poor weather conditions also made it impossible for the 2nd paratrooper wave to take off from England, and supply drops failed to arrive. At about 8:30 a.m., the 9th SS Reconnaissance Battalion attempted to cross the bridge from the south, and several armored cars punched through the British defenses. Sapper Ronald Emery immediately charged against the Germans from the school building and hit the driver of a half-truck. Emery stood in full view of the enemies, but he still threw a grenade that finished the vehicle. He then helped destroy 5 other vehicles. 2 hours later, there were 12 destroyed vehicles and about 70 German casualties. After a brief silence, the Germans unleashed a series of heavy mortar and artillery fire, plus infantry attacks. The brave British troops resisted all day. At one point, Emery managed to withhold a group of Germans trying to get inside the building. He suffered many shrapnel injuries, but still managed to shoot down 13 men. Both sides were fighting chaotic and intermittent encounters. By 3 a.m., a robust German force took cover under the school windows, but the British showered them with grenades. It had been 2 days since the operation launched, and the British troops were exhausted. At about 7 p.m. on September 19th, a German tank blew off a corner of the schoolhouse's first floor, leaving 2 casualties and 24 wounded. But despite the resilience of the British troops, by the 3rd day, they were almost out of ammunition. The 2nd Battalion covering the bridge wasn't doing any better, but the troops kept holding on for reinforcements that were miles away. The Luftwaffe had already started strafing buildings in the area, and by the dawn of September 20th, Arnhem was mostly in ruins. That morning, a tank blew away the school's top story and roof, leaving the British troops defenseless. The Germans had taken over. Defeat. With the school building lost, Frost could not hold the bridge anymore. Moreover, he had been wounded in both legs and was relieved from command. The injured soldiers surrendered while the others attempted to escape. A German officer told the captives, quote, "You are very brave, but very foolish." A 2-hour truce was arranged to take the wounded into German custody, including Frost. He recalled, quote, "It was desperately disappointing that having done everything we had been asked to do, we were now prisoners." The firm stand that the 2nd Battalion, the C Company, and the Royal Engineers took during the 4-day defense of the Arnhem Bridge concentrated the German forces around the rest of the 1st Airborne Division, which fought for 5 more days until they were evacuated. On September 21st, Polish reinforcements were finally able to land. They switched the dropping zone due to warnings from the 2nd Battalion and helped in the evacuation. Despite the appalling defeat, the last stand at Arnhem is perhaps the greatest example of relentless defense in urban terrain by the British Army. What's more, the overall campaign wasn't a complete waste. The Allies were able to secure several strategic points along the route, leading to the eventual liberation of the Netherlands in May of 1945. Lieutenant Colonel Frost was freed after 4 months, and later portrayed in the 1977 star-studded film A Bridge Too Far by Sir Anthony Hopkins. Please subscribe to our channels for more epic stories on heroic feats. And don't forget to hit the bell icon and leave your thoughts on this fateful battle.